Barry was my deputy minister. He was also deputy minister of economic development and a number of other portfolios. Barry Mehr, I'll toss it over to you now.
Thanks, Doug. And thank you, Madam Lou, and thank you, Gordon, for participating in this event. And I won't spend a lot of time, but I'm going to rely on my age to have those listening stay with me for a few minutes. Rely on my age because in China, when you hit age 80, you get special status. So I'll do that, and in a country of immigrants, I'm an immigrant. I'm not I'm not an indigenous, and so therefore I'm going to be kind of hard on Canadians in my comments because we deserve it. Not you deserve it. We deserve it. We're not the U.S., and somewhere along the line we got to learn that. No other country has the strength and influence of the U.S., and next to it, of course, is China. We are currently dependent as a trade-dependent country on, and you heard that earlier, on trade with the U.S., and to a much lesser degree, trade with the PRC. Thus, we have become price takers for our goods and services from U.S. buyers. Madam Lou says, and I agree, there's lots of opportunity, and when we're only sending 4.8% of our exports to China, there's something drastically wrong with what we're doing. Since 1980, which was my first trip, and if David's, and I know he's well over 100 visits, and trips, and when I think about it, I got to be pushing 200. And the time that has been pointed out, the current time, the public opinion low ebb in Canada is actually a good time to get people to refocus, and that normally is when really meaningful relationships develop over my lifetime and career. You have mentioned Daqing, which is my favorite city in China, one of my favorite cities in the world, actually. So with all of that, as I've said, we currently are usually price takers from the Americans. And if I were an American buyer, I would not behave any differently than they do for our goods and services. Why do we allow this situation to continue? And that's the question I asked of the Canadians on here and of myself. I said from the late 70s, I've harped on the fact that our domestic marketplace out of Western Canada doesn't go east. It runs from Shanghai and north in Asia, and of course Western Canada and south to about Fresno in California. Now think of it as that's the domestic market, and therefore those are the citizens of that market that we have to serve. This is, and what I'm saying is not an anti-American or pro-China. In fact, China is the only global economy that can compete as a buyer with the U.S. for Canadian supplies of goods and services. This is the only choice I see for us to get the returns to our economy from our high-quality goods and services that are fair to Canadians. Yet we need to look in the mirror to find out who is at fault for the current circumstance. 4.8% of our exports going to China. Hey, they got the probably the most robust currency in the world, and credit rating is great. Safe country. Who's at fault? It's all of us Canadians when the males shave in the morning and the females put their makeup on. Who can change it? The person in the mirror, bit by bit. So with that, I would like one other, and then I'll Ling Huang, the president and CEO of Technologies North Corporation. What do you hear from those who you grew up with? Is the typical mood today of those living in China, as we need to become much better customers, they need to become much better customers of our goods and services, and recognizing that those that are resident Shanghai and North are part of our domestic market.
Oh, thanks, Barry, for asking a question. So just a quick introduction. I'm a Chinese native. I'm actually from Shanghai. I've been living in Canada over 30 years. So I want to, so I've been on this forum for many times. I have been advocating for better relationship, better understanding. So from what I see from WeChat and the discussion I have with my classmates, relatives in China, this hasn't not really changed that much. I mean, there's a lot of rumors say, Chinese people are not happy and things are go bad. But for what I see, pretty much the same. And domestically, they're doing very well, and they travel everywhere, and you can see all the WeChat postings, and still life looks pretty much normal there. On top of that, I think in general, Chinese people have a very good impression of Canadian, see as a friendly countries, not like the U.S. They go head to head with. But in Canada, there's a couple of incidents, but there's still Chinese people see Canada as a friendly nations. So they prefer to buy Canadian goods and Canadian products. So I think in Canada we should capitalize on that, not like follow our southern neighbor and be be chart hardliner. And I think we should take business there and also take the opportunity there. So that's why I have been talking to everyone in Canada. And I think people have to realize we have a different country, different system, and you can't really use the Canadian value and so norm to judge what's happening in China. It's just not applicable. People down there are generally happy, and they are living well. So that's my feedback.
Thanks, Ling. In summing up my comments, the best advice I was ever given was from an American living and working in Canada. The message was, the customer is not always right, but they are always the customer.
I mean, we're certainly seeing innovation and entrepreneurship emerge in Toronto. We're seeing Calgary going through a very rapid transition. Vancouver seems to be coming alive, becoming clearly a trading partner. Maybe there are signs that we are breaking out of that Laurentian mindset of just being polite and being
I want to hear, from Master Ling.
Ling?
What's your observation?
My observation is the Canadians are too nice.
That's my point.
So no, just that. Too nice, and at the same time, we want to pleasing everybody, and we don't want to pissing everybody or make mistakes. Therefore, they don't take a risk. They don't make a decision at all. So you guys all know I'm doing the artisan employment, digitization, all this kind of stuff. So I've been trying to promote internationally. So I'm actually trying to see which country become my first taker to take this. Guess who is?
China.
China. Hong Kong. it's our first replication because when they see things right, they jump on it.